Hello everyone, I am Sini Shibu from the Department of Computer Applications of the Bhopal School of Social Sciences. Today we are going to talk about programming with C++, and also we'll talk about data structures. In this module, we are going to talk about procedural versus object-oriented programming. We are going to talk about classes, objects, data abstraction and encapsulation. So let me introduce you to the objectives of today's module. After going through this lecture, you will be able to know about machine level language, assembly level language, the high level language. You will be able to differentiate between procedural and object-oriented programming approaches. You would know about classes and objects. You would be able to define abstraction, and also you would be able to define encapsulation. So let us now talk about how programming came into existence. We all know about computers. Those were developed in the early 1950s. In those days, we had the machine level language. Now if you look at the machine level language, these are languages in the form of zeros and ones. What are the characteristics of machine level languages? They are basically programmed using zeros and ones. They are directly executable by the hardware. It requires a very high precision for programming with the machine level language, and it is extremely difficult to debug. So as you saw, the machine level languages were very hard to program and debug. Then came the next level of languages, which were known as assembly level languages. Now these are going to use mnemonics. Mnemonics are small words such as sub, move, as you see here. Now these mnemonics have their own meanings, and they are comparatively easy to understand as compared to the machine level language. And this code is going to be machine dependent. And this code is not going to be directly executable by the hardware, which means that this code needs to be converted into a machine level language, because this is the language that the computer could understand. And to perform this, we need a software called as an assembler. It's a translator that translates assembly level languages to machine level languages. Now, as we have seen, the assembly level languages had their own drawbacks. The code written in an assembly level language was dependent on the hardware, and it used to have mnemonics. Then came the high level languages. Now these are very much hardware independent, and they are English-like languages that are used for programming. Here you see a high level language code, and it has a powerful abstraction, and it could be a general purpose programming language. But again, this high level language is not directly executable by the hardware. So again, this has to be converted into a machine level language, and this conversion is done with the help of a software called as a compiler or an interpreter. So as we have already seen the evolution of a computer software, we have seen machine level languages, assembly level languages, and then we came to the high level languages. Now the high level languages could be categorized as procedural programming and object-oriented programming. Now let's understand what is procedural programming and object-oriented programming. So here is a differentiation between procedural-oriented programming and object-oriented programming. In procedural programming, the program is divided into small parts called functions, whereas in object-oriented programming, the program is divided into small parts called objects. In procedural programming, it follows the top-down approach, whereas in object-oriented programming, the bottom-up approach is followed. There is no access specifier in procedural programming, And in object-oriented programming, we have access specifiers like private, public, and protected. They also help us in data hiding. Adding new data and function is not easy in procedural-oriented programming, but it becomes very easy when we talk about the object-oriented programming paradigm. Procedural programming does not have any proper way for hiding the data. Hence, we can say that it is a very less secure type of a programming paradigm. But in object-oriented programming, it provides data hiding so that it becomes more secure when we talk about data and its security. In procedural programming, the concept of overloading is not possible, whereas it is possible in object-oriented programming. In procedural programming, the function is more important as compared to data, whereas in object-oriented programming, the major emphasis is on data and it is more important than the function. Procedural programming is based on unreal world, whereas object-oriented programming is based on the real-world concept. Examples of procedural programming languages include C, Fortran, Pascal, and BASIC, whereas object-oriented programming are supported by C++, Java, Python, C#, etc. Now here you see a diagrammatic representation of procedural versus object-oriented programming. In your procedural programming approach, you have functions and local data as you see here, and these functions are going to be accessing the global data. But whereas in your object-oriented approach, there are functions which communicate with each other, and these functions can only access the data. Hence you see that the data is secure in object-oriented programming, whereas the data is not secured in the procedural programming paradigm. So now let us look into what are classes. So in object-oriented programming, classes play a very vital role. They are similar to structures in C, and we can even use structures in C++ as well. They have fields corresponding to fields of a structure, and they have fields corresponding to functions in C. Some fields are accessible by everyone and some are not. Hence, this programming paradigm would go ahead and give us data hiding facility. Some fields would be shared by the entire class as well. So when we are going to use objects in C++, we would see how to make a class with its data members and member functions, and also use the access modifiers to give visibility to the data and member functions. Now we have seen what a class is. A class is basically a blueprint, and when we talk about objects, these are going to be instances of the class. So we can say that a class in C++ is a collection of objects. Variables created of a particular class are called as the class objects. The variables have values for fields of the class. Let me give you an example. Suppose we are creating a class called student. Now this class will have a name, an ID, its GPA. These are the fields that are going to store the values of this class. It may also have functions such as change the GPA, add the credits, and these functions can be applied to the objects of the class. Now when we talk about objects, these are going to be instances of the class. For example, we have John Doe and Jane Doe as two instances of this class called as student. So in a nutshell, we have class which is going to be a blueprint, and we would have objects which are going to be variables of that class. Now let me tell you what is abstraction. Abstraction is an object-oriented programming concept in which we are going to define the essential concepts and we are going to ignore the inessential details. Here you see an example. Suppose there is a driver. This driver needs to use the car. So he need not know what the car parts are made up of or how the car parts are going to work. But an automotive engineer would be responsible for designing a car. He would know exactly how to use the parts and design a car. He would use the electronic control units, but he would not go ahead and know how these are further made of. The car parts engineer would be responsible to design the electronic control unit, and he would use in turn the capacitors and transistors. So here is an example of abstraction. At the highest level, the driver need not know what the capacitors or transistors are or what the electronic control units are used in the car. But at the automotive engineer level, he would be required to know about what electronic control units are to be used to design a car. So these are different levels of abstraction. Similarly, while we are programming, we would get a lot of abstractive features so that we can do our program rather than worrying into the details of how things are going to be implemented or how we are going to use the data structures. We must know what constructs are there, but the implementation would be an abstraction that would be provided by the programming language. Now let us look into how many types of abstraction are supported by C++. The first kind of abstraction is known as data abstraction. So here the data abstraction provides us with constructs to simplify the way information is presented to the programmer. The programmer need not worry how the data is going to be stored and how it is going to be retrieved. This kind of abstraction is provided to the programmer with the help of data abstraction. The second kind of abstraction is known as functional abstraction. The programming languages have constructs that basically gift wrap very complex and low-level instructions into instructions that are much more readable. In such a form, we would get a functional abstraction. So we could use the functions to get the outputs done by the program rather than going ahead and looking into how the function is actually implemented. The next kind of abstraction is the object abstraction. The object-oriented programming languages, they go ahead and give the programmer the object abstraction feature so that objects could be constructed and used by the programmer for getting outputs from his program. The next concept that we are talking about is known as encapsulation. Encapsulation means that the code and the data are going to be wrapped up into a single unit. The program statements or the code are those program parts which perform the action and they are called as functions. Whereas the program data is the information that is stored in the program. Encapsulation basically binds together both the functions and the data so that we get an encapsulated entity for our programming. This also supports the data hiding feature of the object-oriented programming language. So let me conclude today's lecture. In this lecture, you have learnt about machine-level languages. These were languages in the form of zeros and ones which were extremely difficult to debug, and it was a complex programming language. The next that we saw was the assembly-level language which used mnemonics, and this was much more easier to debug and program as compared to machine-level languages. The next we saw the high-level languages which are used nowadays. These are much like English languages, and these have the advantage of being independent of the hardware. We also looked into the differences between procedural and object-oriented programming approach. We saw that in the procedural programming approach, a lot of emphasis is given to functions rather than data, whereas in object-oriented programming, our data is what is important. So the entire code is wrapped around the data, and we get a kind of an approach that gives us a lot many features such as encapsulation, abstraction, etc. We looked into what classes and objects are. We have seen that classes are the blueprints and the objects are the variables of the classes. We looked into abstraction, which is basically hiding the details and letting the programmer go into programming without worrying about the inessential details. Lastly, we looked into encapsulation, which is basically wrapping up of your data as well as your functions. So I hope you understood these basic concepts of C++ programming. Thank you.